Our next speaker is going to be Pastor Troy Martinez. He is in the Las Vegas, Nevada area, and he is a pastor in that community, but he has also produced an Emmy-nominated documentary called Trafficked No More. He's also a member of a URI cooperation circle called the Interfaith Council of Southern Nevada. He runs a nonprofit called 10,000 Kids. I could go on and on. This wonderful man and his daughter has helped along the way in preparation for this webinar, and they've just been wonderful to work with, and really excited to hear from them some more. So Pastor Troy, I just invite you to turn on your webcam. We'll unmute you here, and you can begin your presentation. And just a reminder, we've got 7 minutes for each of you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I have Christian here helping me on the tech side, so is everything visible and audio? Can you hear clearly?
We can hear you.
Is the audio on?
We're great.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks, everybody, for inviting me. I was nominated by the Children's Advocacy Alliance, which is a major player here in the city, being advocates for children, and specifically Gar Jamieson, who's not only the founder of the CAA, but he is a good friend and one of the sponsors of the documentary Traffic No More. And as Gail was speaking, she was saying something about everybody can do something, and I agree with that completely. And I just want to kind of add to that, we need a lot of everybody's. And the way we got to where we're at today was because a lot of people statewide did something. Some did some very major things, some did some small things, and everything in between, which accomplished the good work that has been accomplished so far. And what I want to do is kind of start off with a story that happened recently and describe that, and then tell you how that success story came about by the collaborative work. It was the Christmas Eve that just passed. We were here at home. My daughter and my children, my 9 grandchildren, were sitting around the fireplace. We opened presents on Christmas Eve, and it was literally a picture-perfect postcard, if you will. And we got a call from a nonprofit in California that had received a call from a mother that was looking for her approximately 20-year-old daughter that was missing from Los Angeles, had left there with a known gang member, and had been transported to Las Vegas for what they called the season sex trafficking uptick. And once she got here, this young lady, she was being tortured, she was being forced to have sex, she was waterboarded in toilet water, her hair was set on fire at one point, she was beaten repeatedly, she was actually arrested for prostitution, and when she was let out, the pimp would re-engage her, and her family did not know anyone in Vegas, she didn't know anyone in Vegas, but there was a network here that had been built up over the years. So on this particular Christmas Eve, because of this phone call and knowing the desperation of the situation, this young lady had been threatened to be killed by the pimp because he felt she wasn't cooperating in the way he expected. She was able to connect directly with us, and because we had built up partnerships with both law enforcement and houses that received victims, we were able to put in a plan to get her rescued. She was able to pretend she was going out on a date, and she was going to escape, run away to a public place. We had someone there that was going to pick her up and take her directly to a shelter. There was one of our collaborative partners, so they would know how to work with her and deal with her victimization and traumatization. And what had happened is when she got to the location, which happened to be a bus station, the pimp had got a couple of his gang member partners in a car, and they were searching the neighborhood, They located her. She locked herself in the bathroom, and they kicked the bathroom door down. They put her over the shoulder of one of the gang members and was taking this victim to put her in the trunk to drive her away to kill her, to make her an example to the other girls. Because of the partnership, the bus station was already alerted to pay attention, watching for this girl. We had one of our workers on the way to meet her, and law enforcement also was involved. So they kind of all showed up at the same time, and the gang member threw her on the floor, fled, and got in the getaway car and escaped. And the police officer, instead of in the past where they would just put her in cuffs and take her away, they looked at her as what she was, a victim. And not only did the police officer know us personally from all the work, but because of the partnership with the police department, they had been in many briefings talking about the culture change that was taking place, looking at these young ladies as victims and not just as criminals. And so she was immediately allowed to be released, taken to the shelter. She spent several months in the shelter here, then was transferred to the shelter in California, and eventually reunited with her mother. And so we were very excited to see that type of a rescue, and know that if all this work that started back in 2011 for our campaign would have never given her the opportunity to see another day and die a horrible death. So in saying all that, in 2011 we met with a vice lieutenant. Her name was Karen Hughes, and we asked to hear from her what their needs were. And then we began to put together a template that how we would put a statewide campaign together if a law was going to be passed in 2013 that would make sex trafficking a crime in the state of Nevada. Prior to that, there was no law in the book saying sex trafficking was a crime. And so many of the faith-based organizations partnered with the then Attorney General of Nevada, and that law was passed, signed by the governor. And that gave us the trigger to start the awareness campaign, because no one knew about this law. I mean, it was on the books, but even law enforcement, it takes sometimes months and years for them to get the word and the training about when laws change. So one of our blessings here is that we had over the years built up partnership with our mayor, with our sheriff, with many law enforcement officials, our U.S. Attorney of Nevada, many of the nonprofits, the schools, and we were able to bring all those players together, so to speak, to collaborate with us to show this documentary that was being produced. And it was Vegas-centric, and it was up-to-date information, and it was based on a true story, or true events, I should say, and it was put together and aired on every major television station statewide on January 22nd in 2014, just as the new law came out. So it gave people an awareness like never before. One of the most recent, just a couple of weeks ago, there was 40 Chinese nationals that were in one location, and most of them didn't speak any English. They were being trafficked, and a citizen reported it. So those girls were rescued because a citizen, because of the awareness, made that call. The police had no idea that location. It was recent, and they didn't know it existed, but citizens are now aware that those type of situations are not normal. There's something much more evil going on, and so a citizen rescued 40 girls by making one phone call. So that's what we want to see, and that we believe that the templates and the tools that we have compiled And when I say we, I mean many collaborative partners can help in any community. One of the things that we were able to do is create a booklet. I don't know if you can see it. It's the Traffic No More hand booklet. And what happens is the law enforcement agencies train health teachers, and they show a 12-minute clip of the video that we produced, and then they have a discussion with this handbook that has much of the information that we were talking about now, and it also has the national hotlines, so those are free, provided to the school. So we created a multiplication process. So we figured we can't do this alone. We don't have enough resources. There's not enough money to hire 100 people or 1,000 people, but we have the 5th largest school district in the nation. So the school district is actually teaching this in the school district time slots, and the multiplication process is in motion. Additionally,
thank you so much, Pastor Troy. I'm going to have to cut you off, and I want to get into more specifics on the school program, and I think that will come out in our Q&A.
Okay.
So thank you, and we're going to move on here to our next panelist. And just in summary, Pastor Troy's got really great resources on a statewide awareness campaign that he and several others were involved in and running, as well as the documentary and these school booklets. Again, all of that is going to be in your resource packet, so you'll have all of that